Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and this one's going to be a little bit more casual. We're getting super close to a couple phone launches, and one of the biggest ones everyone's anticipating is the next generation of Samsung flagship devices here, including the S21 and S21 Ultra. And as you know, on this channel, we primarily focus on the cameras, and since this phone has pretty much been completely leaked at this point, or what we can assume to be the majority of the specs and pictures and a lot of the promo material being leaked. I wanted to talk about what we've found so far and kind of my wish list for what I hope to see fixed or updated for this version. And I would love to hear your thoughts throughout. So let's jump into it. First, let's talk about the S21 and the S21 Plus. Taking a look at this leaked image that we can see here, the top one is looking like a 12 megapixel f2.2, I'm guessing ultra wide. Then we have the 12 megapixel f1.8. This is the main larger sensor. So this will be your normal wide angle. And then the telephoto lens, which is a 64 megapixel f2. And then taking a look at this graphic right here for the S21 Ultra, we can see that it has a front-facing 40 megapixel f2.2 camera, and for the ultra-wide 12 megapixel f2.2, the main sensor is going to be in 108 megapixel f1.8, a 10 megapixel f4.9 telephoto. I'm guessing this is the 3 times, and then we have a 10 megapixel f2.4. I guess one of those are the 3 times, one is the 10 times telephoto here. And we also can see that this one does have laser autofocus compared to just the regular good old optical image stabilization, the OIS built into the regular S21 and Plus. Now, for the most part, this may sound pretty similar to last year's S20 line. However, here we are seeing some wider apertures. We have laser autofocus from the Note 20 Ultra line, now in the S21 Ultra. But there's a couple spots where we may see some real improvements here. One of them is the fact that these are newer image sensors and some of them are larger. And if you've been following this channel for any amount of time, then you probably already know that I'm a huge fan of somewhat lower megapixel. Around 12 megapixels is really good with bigger sensors, because the bigger the sensor, and the well-balanced lower amount of megapixels means that each sensor is bigger. That's going to give you better colors and much better low light performance. So that 108 megapixel sensor isn't, although it can be good in really good optimal lighting scenarios, a 12 megapixel same size sensor is going to perform far better in low light and give you better skin tones and color reproduction. And on the Ultra with the laser autofocus, we also should see some much better low light performance autofocus that we're seeing in stuff like the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It will be also very interesting to see that added camera on the S21 Ultra with the 3 times and 10 times telephoto zoom. Honestly, I'm not holding out too much hope. Whichever one is the lens right below the flash looks very small, and that tells me that anything besides the optimal lighting scenarios, it's going to be like garbage quality. So based on the current leaks that we're seeing, it looks like in terms of my wish list, my hardware wish list isn't going to happen, which is that a phone would just come out with a couple different focal lengths of lenses, but all of the same sensors. So no matter what sort of lighting scenario you're in, no matter what focal length you take a picture at, you're going to expect the same quality on both. It's kind of like my Pocket 6K I'm shooting on right now. If I throw on my 15 millimeter or my 45 or my 150, I'm going to get the same quality because they're all hitting the same sensor. It's all the same brand of lenses and glass. And so even though they're going to look different from the focal lengths, the actual quality is going to be the same. And then we get into the biggest thing, which is software. Now, a lot of articles, including The Verge's article and a lot of tech sites that I was reading while finding this information, all talk about how Samsung definitely is leaning on the hardware side because their software game has been a little lackluster the past couple of years. I'm sure a lot of Samsung diehard fans are going to disagree with me there, but just hear me out. So the first Samsung flagship that I ever reviewed and really used the camera on was, I believe, the S10. I'll throw up the video right here. And man, I pounded on that thing because it was completely unrealistic. Samsung really likes to oversaturate both the photos and videos and go crazy on the skin smoothing for photos as well. And over the past couple of years, they've definitely kind of reeled it in a little bit, and they're definitely looking a lot more natural. When I played around and did multiple videos on the Note 20 Ultra, a lot of the times the skin tones and colors in general looked very natural. The HDR, kind of using the auto modes, definitely still looked hyper realistic. When I was shooting during the summer, the sky was insanely blue, the grass was insanely green, and it basically, I mean, it looked pretty. A lot of people really like that look, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of the more natural, real to what we see in our eyes, iPhone definitely is still winning in that game. So it'd be cool to see if their post-processing kind of is scaled more towards the realism side, because you can always add saturation and vibrance in post. I 100% agree with all the statements that Samsung is definitely behind Apple and Google in terms of their computational photography and everything that's going on there. They made some amazing strides last year, and I am really excited to see what they do with the S21 line. My buddy Christian, also, who is currently using a S20 Ultra, let me know that just today or yesterday he got the next version of Android for Samsung. So obviously they've come out with their next operating system or their next version of it. So it will be interesting to see if they add any new camera features that we haven't even thought of or heard of. Whether they turn out to be gimmicks or actually genuine useful features, I'm really interested, and especially since Samsung, the Note 20 line had an awesome Pro mode, I am very interested to see if they kind of add to that more. Maybe their own version of Vlog would be on my wish list, because that was the one thing that they were missing in the Pro mode, was really the ability to change a lot of the shooting profiles. So there you have it. Those are the current camera leaks and kind of my hopes for what to see in a couple weeks when the Samsung S21 launch event happens. Remember, it's on the 14th. And before that, actually, the OnePlus Nord is coming out in a couple of days. So best believe I'll be getting my hands on that to do a good old in-depth camera review on. If you guys have any other phones or anything, leave those in the comments down below. And if you see someone else comment the phone that you think I should do a video on, like that comment so it goes towards the top. And if one is getting a lot of attention, then I'll definitely make sure to do a video on it. And kind of my last self-plug here is I've jump-started my 2 other channels now. So if you're really into learning about new apps and from all different categories, I run a channel, Apps Every Day. That's coming back. That's got new uploads every single day. And then if you're into video editing, obviously if you're probably watching this channel, then I run something called the Edit Place, and that will get a video once or twice a week, just all about editing and different software, editing tutorials, tips and tricks, hacks, behind the scenes of how these videos are made. So those will be in the description down below if you want to go over and subscribe. Apps Every Day is getting real close to 1,000, so I would majorly appreciate the support there. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.